Now, today, I'm going to review the Virtual Console. I'm going to show you all the basic stuff about the Virtual Console. This is a place on the Wii where you can buy games from old consoles and play them on the Wii. Pretty damn sweet, isn't it? Well, without further ado, let's start. Now, before we start, I want to ask you something. What is the most important aspect about any game? Is it the music? The length? Maybe it's the difficulty or learning curve. The graphics? The camera angle? The difficulty? No wait, I think I said that already. Well, the most important thing about any game is the controls. You do not want to have bad controls or you won't be able to play it. So, I'm going to review the controllers. Before you download the game, you need to know what's compatible with it by looking right beside the game icon. It can be compatible with the Wii Remote, the Classic Controller, or the GameCube controller. Now, the most compatible with the NES controller is, well, the Wii Remote. Look, they pretty much have the exactly same design. Look, there's a controller pad, there's the 1 and 2 buttons, which are pretty equivalent to A and B, and then you got the plus and minus button, which are pretty compatible with select and start. So basically, you can tell that these two are pretty much alike. Although not in shape and color, pretty good in concept. And if they ever release some Sega Master System games, this would be pretty compatible with them too. Moving on to the Super Nintendo games, it seems that in every game you won't find the Wii Remote compatible with it. You can only find the Classic Controller or the GameCube controller compatible with it. What? Yeah, you heard me right. It's only compatible with GameCube and Classic controllers. The Classic controller plugs into the bottom of the Wii Remote, kind of like the nunchuck. I think the reason why it's only compatible with GameCube and Classic controllers is because the GameCube and Classic controller have more buttons than the Super Nintendo controller. And that makes pretty much some good sense. It does have A, B, X, and Y buttons, and the start button, and the joystick. So, makes some pretty good sense. Something that really baffles me is that the Nintendo 64 games are compatible with the GameCube and Classic controller, but they don't have enough buttons. I'm serious here. Look at the controllers. The GameCube controller is 2 buttons behind. Well, I can tell you this. I'll give it this. It did have the start button, the A and B button, the control pad, the joystick, and even the L, R, and Z button. But when they made the GameCube controller, they replaced the 4 C buttons with a C joystick. Sure, it had Y and X button, but that still didn't compare to the 4 C buttons. So we're pretty much screwed when it comes to this. Something odd about the Genesis games is that some of them are compatible with the Wii Remote, although the NES only has 2 primary buttons and the Genesis has 3. However, unlike the Nintendo 64 games, this is pretty explainable. On some of the Genesis games, some of the buttons do the same thing. Like in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, and 3, they all do the same action. Jump, or when you're ducking, use blast processing. Well, then the Wii Remote is pretty compatible, because then both the 2 buttons will do the same thing. Or if 2 buttons do the same action and one does a different one, then it's pretty easy. One action, a different action. Pretty simple. Here's the average prices of each console. Of course, there are 6 consoles: the NES, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx-16, and Neo Geo. Neo Geo? I've never heard of that console before. Whatever. All NES games cost 500 points. Both the Super Nintendo games and the Genesis games are worth 800 points. The Nintendo 64 games all cost 1,000 points. All TurboGrafx-16 games are worth 600 points. And all the Neo Geo games are worth 900 points. Other than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, all games imported from Japan are worth 1/5 more. It's like the games are in switch position. Get it? So, the Wii Points card is worth 2,000 points. But, if you want lots of games like me, that might not be enough for you. So, buy one, and buy the games you want, then play them. When you get bored of them, buy another one, and get the rest of the games. Just like that. Pretty cool. Well, I know this isn't really relevant to the stuff that's important, but I'm going to tell you some of the games that I'm going to buy on the Virtual Console. So for the NES, I'm going to buy Mach Rider and Super C, the sequel to Contra. For the Super Nintendo, I'm going to buy ActRaiser and Street Fighter II Turbo, one of the updated versions of Street Fighter II. And for the Sega Genesis, I'm going to buy Altered Beast and Streets of Rage 3, the sequel to Streets of Rage 2.